Victory Studios in downtown Little Rock, this is Capitol View.
And good Sunday morning to you. Welcome into Capitol View. I'm Jay Bird. Well, Senator Tom Cotton was in Central Arkansas this past week to speak with the agriculture industry, promote the COVID vaccine, and a host of other things. Our Bob Clausen got to sit down with the senator, and he asked a few things, one of which, masks.
I've got my mask in my pocket here, and I'll wear it where people ask me to. I respect property owners' rights. So if a business wants us to keep wearing it, or in federal government buildings where it's been asked that we keep wearing it, I'll keep doing so. And if it makes other people more comfortable to be around me, I'll continue to wear it as well. But I think once more and more people get vaccinated, you know, as the weather is getting warmer and we're spending more time outside, less need to be inside during the cold weather, I think there's going to be less and less need for wearing masks, and ultimately less need for some of the other practices we've taken over the last year as well, like maintaining this kind of distance between people.
CDC also concerned about a surge coming. We're dropping these mask mandates, and there's a potential surge out there. Concerns about that hitting the summer. And well, we brought up Dr. Fauci. How's he been doing up to this point? I know you've got your criticisms.
Well, I think Dr. Fauci has been wrong several times over the last year. He's been right about some things, but he's been wrong about some things as well. That's one reason why we don't let doctors or epidemiologists or scientists make the laws that govern us. We let people like Governor Hutchinson here in Little Rock, along with our legislature or our federal delegation in Congress, make the laws because we're accountable to the people. Now, of course, we listen to those experts, just like in, say, matters of war and peace. You listen to generals and admirals, but in the end, it has to be the politically accountable elected officials who make these laws for our people. But I do think that if you look at the evidence in Arkansas, our cases are still trending downward. Hospitalizations are still at a very low rate. And if you go back a year ago, if you remember, the rallying cry the president first laid out was not stop the spread. It's very hard to do that with a contagious virus. It was slow the spread or flatten the curve, because we're focused on making sure that our hospitals could treat not just people with the coronavirus, but all other kinds of diseases. We're far beyond that now.
You just got back from a trip to the southern border. I saw some of your interview on that, and you were none too pleased with what you saw down there. Yeah, and if you follow-up would be also today they're beginning to school migrant children.
Yeah, it's complete insanity at the border. Until January 20th, our border was effectively closed, and Joe Biden made exceptions to the public health exclusionary order that we were imposed during this pandemic, and he also said that minors were going to be allowed to enter. Well, guess what? We have a lot more of now. We have a lot more minors, thousands and thousands every single day, either by themselves or with people claiming to be a family member. And we're basically just waving them through. I saw hundreds of migrants underneath a bridge late at night on Thursday night. I talked to many of them through an interpreter. Not a single one claimed that they were seeking asylum. They didn't claim that they were facing persecution because of their race or their sex or their political views or their religion. They said they wanted a better job. I can understand that. I'm sympathetic. That's not grounds for asylum law or for asylum under our law. So what needs to happen is very simple. We need to, again, apply the public health exclusionary order to all persons of all ages. I mean, we were in a facility where they divided teenage boys into groups of about 50 each and said that's the coronavirus positive group and the coronavirus negative group. We don't want to take a risk of introducing the virus or potential variants into our communities. The second thing we should do is reinstitute the Remain in Mexico policy. If you get to our border, you have to make your asylum claim in Mexico. And the third thing would be to re-enter so-called safe third country agreements, that if you leave your country, let's say Honduras, and go to another country, Guatemala, that's where you have to make your asylum claim.
Where's the sticking point? Why can't we come together with the Democrats and see a clear vision on what to do moving forward rather than deal with what we're dealing with now?
Well, I think a lot of the Democrats are just pursuing an anti-Trump policy. Anything that Donald Trump did, even if it was successful, has to be undone. Now, I do believe that President Biden realizes that he made a bad mistake when he eliminated the Remain in Mexico policy and he walked away from those safe third countries agreements. He's asked Vice President Harris to go to Mexico and go to those Central American countries and try to negotiate some kind of agreement with them. We had perfectly good agreements with them. We should just re-enter those agreements. But I do think a lot of this is driven just by President Biden's desire to completely reverse anything that President Trump had done, even though it was working perfectly well.
There's so much back and forth in Washington, and just talking to a lot of people, just saying that they're sick and tired of it. And this has been the mantra from administration to administration. What is not working in D.C. and what is working, and what can we hold on to look forward to?
Well, I would say there's cases in which the parties have really fundamental differences, and it's hard to find consensus. So one example was the bill the Democrats just passed spent $1.9 trillion. They labeled that a coronavirus bill, but really less than 10% of that money went to help people who were generally suffering from the coronavirus or had lost income. Most of it just went to pay a bunch of long-standing liberal priorities. By contrast, last year, when we were in charge, we passed 4 or 5 different bills. It spent almost $4 trillion, much more than any of us ever imagined we'd have to spend, in part because we didn't imagine facing a once-in-a-century pandemic. But those bills passed by large bipartisan majorities. Some of them passed unanimously because the need was so great at the time. There's other instances when you work across party lines, it maybe doesn't get a lot of headlines, but it makes a real difference in people's lives. So for instance, I worked with a Democratic senator from Rhode Island, Sheldon Whitehouse. Let's just say that Sheldon and I don't often agree on a lot of things, right, but we did agree on this. People who've been diagnosed with ALS, a terrible debilitating disease in which the life expectancy can be measured in months, not years, shouldn't have to wait to get access to their Social Security disability. And it was one of the very few bills that passed last year that had bipartisan support. I'm very pleased that we were able to do that for all the Arkansans who've suffered from ALS and their families. So sometimes you have some big areas of agreement. Sometimes you have some more targeted areas, but there are places where we just fundamentally disagree, and that's why we have elections.
Right. Well, that's true. And getting on to elections, there's always the saying that Republicans are trying to suppress votes, and now the Democrats are trying to immigrate them.
Well, that's what Democrats say about Republicans, and
right,
Democrats are wrong. So if you just look at the radical bill the Democrats have proposed, they call it the For the People Act. It really should be called For Corrupt Democratic Politicians Act. What they want to do is take a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic that caused some states to adopt untested, even risky election practices and make those practices permanent. So for instance, it would federalize our elections. It would require Arkansas to have same-day registration. So someone walks in, they register to vote, and they get to vote without any ability to assess their eligibility to vote. It would require us to mail out ballots to all Arkansans, even if you don't want to mail out ballot. It would prohibit photo identification. It would require states like ours to allow ballot harvesting, where someone can walk around and pick up thousands and thousands of ballots to return. It would use your taxpayer dollars to fund politicians' campaigns with whom you disagree, so they can attack the people you do disagree with. It is a radical effort to federalize our election law, and I, for one, am not going to stand for it. Granted,
there are people out there, though, that can't get to a polling place to vote. They may not have access to their mail the correct way. What do Republicans say this is what we'll do to help them?
So in Arkansas, we've run pretty effective elections in recent years, and I think we have a good balance between ballot access on the one hand and election integrity on the other. You don't have to register until 30 days before the election. For those folks who can't go to the polls, we've always had absentee ballots for people who can't make it in. Last year, the governor expanded that in that once-in-a-century circumstance. We have 2 weeks of early voting to include weekend voting. Again, that's a much greater opportunity and vote access to the ballot than, frankly, some Democratic states have.
And for that entire interview, including Senator Cotton's thoughts on China, the World Health Organization, and more, head over to KARK.com. When we return, we talk with one of the Democrat candidates for governor, James Russell. They call him Russ. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Okay, so this gal comes in. She's in tears when she walked in the door. She tells me, I've got a trip coming up. I'm going to Turkey. I'm going to be walking and walking and walking, and I can't walk, and I don't know what to do, so help me. And I helped her. She called me a couple of weeks ago. She had the time of her life, virtually pain-free, and I had saved her life in her mind.
See for yourself with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
Looking for that small town feel with a big personality? BB has easy access to all of the amenities of the larger cities while maintaining all of the pleasant benefits of a small town. Conveniently located within minutes of the capital city of Little Rock, bustling Conway, and populated Searcy, you'll never find yourself farther than a comfortable drive from any big city interests. Looking for a neighborhood home or a bigger piece of property in the country? BB offers affordable options for both. Easy access to the interstate makes BB the perfect location to start a business or relocate if that's your need. Call the BB Chamber. Let us help. When it comes to education, Beebe is home to one of the best public school districts in the state and the top-rated community college, Arkansas State University, Beebe. What are you waiting for? Give us a call or look us up online.
I'm Mayor Robertson and invite you to live, work, shop, and play in Beebe.
Come and enjoy a new experience in shopping for your home. At Aladdin Rugs and Home Decor, we have over 5,000 rugs in the latest colors and styles. Bring your pillows, your pillow shams, and sizes. We will help you select the perfect rug. We're #1 in customer service with 15,000 square feet of rugs, unique home decor, wallpaper, and flooring. Remember, buy today, take it home today, and save. Why wait?
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back into Capitol View, where he's looking to shock the world, or at least the world right here in Arkansas. James Russ Russell joins us now. He is a Democrat candidate for governor here in Arkansas. And Russ, we certainly do appreciate the time. I guess just first and foremost here, I guess why get into this race? I mean, obviously the state is what it is right now, but do you think you can maybe change some minds here in Arkansas?
I'm certainly hoping so. It's a big risk to take if not. No, I've been looking at getting involved in politics actually for 10, 15 years now. But given where I live here in Little Rock, everybody that represents me at the local municipal level, I kind of already in agreement with, so I was just supportive of them. And stars kind of aligned to where it's a matter of this office came up and I've got the availability and the interest, so let's give it a shot. All right, YOLO attitude, I like it. But let's talk about what you would potentially hope to do here in Arkansas. I know you've kind of got your platform. You're calling it the 4 E's, the education, economy, equity, and the environment. And all those kind of things kind of jive together to a certain degree. But let's start with education, because I know that's a big one here in Arkansas. I guess, what are your plans for education? Is there anything specific? I know broadband has been sort of boosted to the top of the list. The state kind of doing some things now, but what do you want to do to kind of build on that? Right. Well, one, especially the broadband kind of ties in with the economy as well, and just in getting a rural outreach, because of course in the wake of COVID, seeing that kind of our infrastructure needs addressing so that everybody's got equal access to it. But when I'm talking about normally when we talk about education, people are thinking about just, K through 12, higher education, but it's also a matter of, rebuilding trade schools and having that kind of option, so that you do actually have that available. Coming up through my generation, it was constantly go to college, get an education, everything else, and the notion of trade schools and manual labor and stuff kind of fell by the wayside. And that still needs to be a viable option for people to go through. And maybe I'm the weirdo, but I'm not opposed to having a mechanic that could quote Shakespeare or anything like that. Diversity in education is a good thing in my view, so let's make them well-rounded. Absolutely here, but if they can quote Shakespeare and also fix my my oil, hey, I'm okay with that. But kind of tying into the economy here, I know Governor Hutchinson, at least during the pandemic here, has kind of kept Arkansas a little bit on the up and up here. Things are kind of starting to bounce back a little bit. Again, all your platform talking points here kind of interweave with each other here, because I know agriculture, one of the big deals, kind of part of your platform as well. But also, too, tourism is also a big industry here in Arkansas. And I guess when it comes to the economy, what do you want to see done to advance Arkansas? The thing is, getting more value for our dollar. It's actually paying attention to where our spending's going and not being frivolous with it. Let's get more value out of our dollar. And the other one is, again, tying back into the economy and agriculture both. It's having a well-educated and engaged populace that are prepared for economic growth and moving into the future. Like right now, we've got incentives for people to move from out of state back in state because we've got declining populations. Why not use those better our own people? Why not use them in state? Well, we should be seeking for the answers from within, not from without. That's really kind of where it's coming from. So just a reinvestment in our state in general. And I know one thing that's been kicked around by some folks, and we've seen it filed here, I know Tim Griffin had also put it out there before he switched races here, was just eliminating the state income tax. Is that something that you've kind of looked into? Maybe a little too early to kind of dig into the weeds with that? Kind of what are your thoughts on just eliminating that altogether? I wouldn't say eliminate the state income tax, just because historically every state that we've seen do that, it's led to a financial crisis at some point. So it's more about just making sure that everybody's paying their fair share. Now, raising on an individual, absolutely not. No, everybody's paying plenty, especially trying to recover from the pandemic. But again, it is a matter of seeing, where is everyone paying their fair share? Where do we need to actually take a look at? What tax codes do we need to look at updating for the modern age, that kind of stuff?
And let's kind of get into the environment, because we've touched on a little bit here. I know agriculture, a big part of that here. I know some of the farm community and some of the ag community has kind of had some beefs, if you will, with some of the Green New Deal and some of the other things that have been going on. It doesn't seem to necessarily work out for them as much. I guess kind of where's the fair, sort of the give and take that you'd like to see when it comes to a lot of the conservation efforts, whether it be nature or the solar power, things like that, and also being fair to farmers.
Right. Well, one of the things is just encouraging, of course, sustainable agricultural practices. That's one of the big ones, is not getting into monoculture farming, things like that could damage it long term. We got to protect the resources we got. But the other one is actually looking and seeing, well, what are the resources they have? As far as you mentioned, the Green New Deal, allowing them to utilize waterways that are on there for generating minor hydroelectric power to offset what they're actually using to reduce carbon emissions, installing solar panels or wind farms or anything like that. Things that can be done with a low impact that just allow them to offset. And another big one, tying back in with the education and everything else, is the Right to Repair Act that we're looking at. We've got farmers that may drop $500,000, $750,000 on a piece of equipment, and then a year later it needs repair, but that's proprietary software. You can't update it, you can't do anything, and you actually need somebody that's trained in the use of that to keep it up and running. So they do need help, but we do need to look at it as a whole issue rather than jumping from one to another. So yeah.
And then that will be an interesting issue to follow. I know there's a bill been filed for that here, but also it's kind of getting to a sort of a national stage here. And I guess quickly here, while we still got a little time here, I know equity is one of your things. I know you've been pretty loud on social media when it came to some of the Black Lives Matter protesting, and then some of the recent bills that have been passed here when it comes to some of the transgender issues at the state level. Kind of what do you want to see with that, and what are your plans?
The main thing on that one, of course, is first and foremost is just leading by example. Yeah, I am a small business owner here in Little Rock. And one of the things is, any of the clinicians we have, it doesn't matter race, gender, anything, we are very transparent about everything. Everyone knows exactly what the pay rate is on it. There's no obfuscation. Everything's out in the open. And I would hope that leading by example, that would play out, that would bear out over time and show that this is better ways to run your business. You end up with more productivity, happier people, better all the way around. And of course, if you raise wages, you're going to generate more tax revenue for the state commensurately, because you're just dealing with a percentage. So it does help all the way around. And so, yeah, primarily leading by example, but also tying back into the education thing, is the better educated your populace is, the more interested in equity and the more able they are to understand at hand. So.
Well, there you have it here. Everything interwoven there, as it is here in the state here. His beard game is A+ here. James Russ Russell, Democrat candidate for governor. Boss, we do appreciate the time, and we'll do it again.
Thank you very much. Be happy to. Just let me know.
Absolutely. Well, when we come back, we have got more from this week, not only just here in Little Rock, but also in D.C. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Sold it, sold it, sold it.
Attention real estate buyers. Check out what's coming up on the Wilson Auction Block. A luxury home in Sky Point Estates, Air Park Subdivision. Homes near Greersbury Lake and Lake Washita. Farms in Damascus, Quitman, and West Little Rock. Commercial property in Hot Springs and Hot Springs Village. And on May 6th, 240 acres of row crop and timber land in Desert with excellent hunting. Download the Wilson app and bid now.
Sold it, sold it, sold it.
Have you ever wanted a brand new camper? Hi, I'm Misty Gibson for John Gibson Auto Sales, and we are an official Gulfstream camper dealer. Whether you have good credit, bad credit, or no credit, we will finance your brand new Gulfstream camper. We also have a large selection of used campers, cars, trucks, SUVs, motorcycles, ATVs, performance trailers, and boats. Check us out online at johngibsonautosales.com, and we will have your purchase ready when you get here.
Keep your loved ones stress-free during the next power outage with an exclusive Tri-State standby generator. It's made to last with a full 10-year parts and labor warranty, but most importantly, will keep your home running smoothly during an outage. You can't put a price on the safety and comfort of your family. Prepare your home today, so when nasty weather strikes and knocks out your power, your family won't be powerless. Why wait? Call today.
No delay, take home today at Overstock Furniture and Mattress. With 0% interest and no credit needed purchase options available, we're overstocked on living rooms from $5.99, bedrooms in stock from $7.99, all sizes of name brand mattresses in stock from $2.99. No waiting on dining tables and chairs from $6.99. No waiting weeks for furniture to be delivered at Overstock Furniture and Mattress. No delay, buy today, take home today with 0% interest and no credit needed purchase options available.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back into Capitol View. Several groups held a rally Thursday at the state capitol representing several minority groups, Latinos, Asians, and other groups to encourage lawmakers to pass a comprehensive hate crimes bill this session. State Senator Jim Hendricks said recent events in the U.S. and in Arkansas has put the General Assembly on notice when it comes to hate crimes.
It's made it clear to the legislature that for us to adjourn in this environment without a hate crimes bill and be one of the only states without it would be a failure.
A rally at the state capitol on Thursday supported hate crimes laws to be passed. Joshua Price said citizens and visitors should not be afraid.
We cannot have anybody feel afraid walking on the street, waiting for their Uber, going to the grocery store, that they may be targeted just for being who they are.
The city of Hot Springs passed a resolution to support a hate crimes bill. Aaron Holliday on the council said people notice these things.
By not having an anti-hate crimes law in Arkansas, we are sending a message that safety and protection are not our concern.
Speaker of the House Matthew Shepard is a sponsor on a new hate crimes bill that has been filed. Some say the bill is too broad in its definitions, but Shepard says everyone is protected no matter what new class of people could pop up in the future.
Once we enact it, it's there. You're covered. Every class, every category, every group is covered across the board. And really, isn't that the way it's supposed to be?
One of the major differences between this bill and Senate Bill 3 is the penalties. SB 3 adds on time, and Senate Bill 622 guarantees at least 80% of a prison sentence must be served before being eligible for parole.
Law enforcement, I think, will tell you that's pretty strong. So our bill is more comprehensive, and it's actually more severe.
There will be further discussion on both bills and if either can amass the votes needed to pass. But many advocates say something has to be passed out this session.
So we definitely need an inclusive hate crimes bill in our state, a comprehensive hate crimes bill that's going to protect everyone in our state.
Now, both of those bills have been assigned to the Senate Judiciary Committee, where several members have been outspoken about their opposition to a hate crimes bill. We'll definitely keep you updated on the progress, if any, on both of those bills. Well, polls show white Republicans, particularly in rural areas, remain more skeptical of the COVID-19 vaccine than any other group. Members of Congress are working to change that, along with focusing on other underserved communities. Our Washington correspondent, Jesse Snur, reports.
Kicking off our Shots in Arms tour.
Republicans are taking to social media,
going throughout Arkansas,
and making stops.
Have the vaccine widely available to all Arkansans now.
To urge their constituents to give the COVID-19 vaccine a shot.
I'm going to get mine. I encourage everyone to get theirs.
Across the country, surveys show white Republicans, particularly men in rural areas, remain mostly skeptical of the vaccine. Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton says the choice is up to each individual.
Shouldn't take the word of a politician. Don't take Dr. Fauci's word for it. Talk to your doctor. Make the decision that's right for you.
Fellow Arkansas Senator John Bozeman says federal COVID relief will help vaccinators in his state with delivery and education efforts.
They are doing a great job. I wish every Arkansan could see the effort that's being made.
The White House COVID-19 response team said Wednesday, as supply continues to ramp up, the federal government will base distribution in certain areas on demand instead of population. Democrats, like Alabama Congresswoman Terry Sewell, want to ensure that includes underserved and rural communities in their states.
It's all about pushing this virus, right?
Sewell says federally funded National Guard vaccination sites are making equitable distribution easier.
We want to see your face in the place if you need a vaccine.
In Washington, I'm Jesse Tenor.
And looking at some of the numbers back here in Arkansas, there are some rural counties who are above the rest. Now, as of March 19th, in counties classified 1 through 4, which have a population of less than 50,000 and represents a little over a third of the state's overall population of 16 and over, here's the caveat there, over 277,000 have had at least one shot and over 135,000 have been fully vaccinated, which is 42% of those fully vaccinated here in Arkansas. Now, top counties that have been partially vaccinated are Dallas, DeShay, Conway, and Cleveland counties, who are all just under a third of their 16 and over population being vaccinated. And those counties that are fully vaccinated in terms of percentage of the population, Cleveland, Franklin, Clay, and Bradley counties. The new jobs report is out, and it is very good news in regards to the country's economic recovery amidst the pandemic. Non-farm jobs rose by 916,000, and the overall American unemployment rate dropped to 6% in March. Now, this is the fastest rate at which jobs have grown since last summer. Some of the hard-hit industries saw major gains. Leisure and hospitality grew by 280,000, and bars and restaurants saw 176,000 new jobs added. President Biden says this has been the highest job growth in the first 2 months of any administration.
But we still have a long way to go to get our economy back on track after the worst economic and job crisis in nearly a century. But my message to the American people is this: help is here, opportunity is coming, and at long last there's hope for so many families. Credit for this progress belongs not to me but to the American people, hard-working women and men who have struggled through this pandemic.
And we are back to wrap it up after this. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Sold it, sold it, sold it.
Attention Greers Ferry Lake home buyers and pilots. Sky Point Estates luxury home auction at 54 Airport Road in Edgemont, Arkansas, with a Swiss chalet-inspired 4,000 square foot custom home, 3 bedrooms and 2.5 bathrooms in the main home, large airplane hangar with 1,300 square feet of living space. Selling regardless of price in its entirety, Wednesday, May 5th at 11 a.m. For auction details, go to wilsonauctioneers.com.
Sold it, sold it, sold it.
For more than a year now, our Kroger healthcare providers have worked on the front lines to help test, treat, and comfort our neighbors as part of our 22,000-member Kroger Health Team. And now, we're making our boldest commitment to date. We've increased capacity at all of our pharmacies and clinics to deliver 1 million COVID-19 vaccine doses per week, giving greater access to all Americans. Together, we're helping ensure that our better tomorrow begins today.
Watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And that is it for this week's show. We have nothing left to talk about, at least for this week. We are back with an all-new Capitol View next week with hopefully plenty more to talk about. The legislature keeps us pretty busy here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.